5 winners of the Open over the years. It's our most successful major, with Peter Thomson setting the standard back in 1954. Like Tom Watson, winning it 5 times Raider. What a list of Australian greats that is.
Absolutely. You know, it's why we're so successful there is because a lot of the time we play the Open Championship in Australian conditions. A lot of the time, this time of the year in the UK, you know, the golf courses get fast and they get fiery, and there's a lot of wind around. We are a nation that the population is on the outskirts of the nation in Australia, and we get a lot of wind. So we're familiar with this type of game. We can play at Royal Melbourne, Kingston Heath, down in the Sandbelt. You've got to play bump shots and all that sort of stuff. So this is what we grew up playing. So that's why we love the Open Championship so much, and we've all the players that we've had kiss that claret jug. You know, don't be surprised this year an Aussie, yeah, he could win it because we just love that sort of style of golf.
Well, we have 10 Aussies in the field this week, so who knows? We'll begin our preview of the Aussies with Adam Scott, who's teeing it up in the Open Championship for a 25th consecutive year. That's quite a record in itself.
It certainly is. And the 44-year-old, let's face it, he's getting a little bit older now. He's had a solid year without being great. He got to the US Open. He started playing extremely well. There was a lot of good stuff from Adam Scott here at the US Open. He was right in the thick of things until the 11th hole. His ball was sitting in the middle of the fairway. It was very, very wet. He tried to pick it off the top there and sculled it all the way through the back of the green and made a bogey, and then just couldn't finish it off. It was just very difficult. But there was lots of good signs. He put the little mini driver in play and drove the ball extremely well. And I'll tell you what, his return putting, as much as everybody thinks he doesn't putt well, he actually putted nice and solid.
He has plenty of history, Radar, in the Open Championship. We go back to Royal Lytham and St Anne's in 2012 when he led by 4 with 4 to play and finished with 4 straight bogeys. It was a gut punch like there's rarely been for Aussie golfers.
Yeah, that was a horrible, horrible thing. Ernie Els won the Open Championship for the 2nd time right there at Royal Lytham. But that was a very, very sad day. But one thing for Adam, the next year he went on to win the Masters. So the first Australian to win the Masters. So, but he'll always regret that. And I know how dedicated he is to the Open Championship. Spends a lot of time. He goes there a couple of weeks before, then he goes there again, and then he goes back to Switzerland when he's over these ways where he bases himself. So I know he's been there a lot. So he is one player. I feel as though sneakily, last time we sort of did a preview show for the US Open, I said he's coming in with no form, and he built some form, as Gowie has just described in the US Open. So the last major, he played well. So, you know, maybe he could take that confidence from Oakmont to Port Rush. Let's hope so.
From one Queenslander to another, Radar, we'll stay with you because let's take a look at Jason Day now, who had some very good form at the Masters, reeled off all those pars in a row to stay in contention going into the weekend there at Augusta National. And just a couple of years ago at Royal Liverpool, finished joint runner-up behind Brian Harman.
Yeah, I feel as though Jason Day is coming. You know, he hasn't had a great season, but it hasn't been a bad season. He's dedicated very much. He's gone back to his old coach, Colin Swatton, and they are doing a fantastic job. I've managed to walk the course a few times this year in the States with Colin, and he's told me a lot about what they're working on. They're just going back to old basics. They were so very successful together, Jason Day and Swatton, because they actually won the PGA Championship together, his only major, and at Whistling Straits. So, yeah, I mean, he's playing well. He's had previous at the Open Championship. He knows he can play links golf, having a second before. So, you know, and you just got to know, before you go to the Open, you just got to know, what am I going to get weather-wise? You have to be ready for everything. You can't get down in the dumps with the weather and the wind and the breaks you get. Sometimes you get a good draw, sometimes you don't get a good draw. But yes, Adam Scott and Jason Day, they are decent chances to win the championship this year. Much better chances than I thought they were at the US Open.
I'll be fascinated to hear what you think of the chances of the man we saw a moment ago, 3 years ago, the champion at St Andrews. Cam Smith has missed the cut in all 3 majors this year. I'd have lost a lot of money in April if you said to me Cam would miss the cut in the first 3 majors of the year.
Yeah, it's certainly been a tough year for majors for Cam Smith. He's been working on his game with Grant Field a lot back there in Florida, trying to sort out the driver. It hasn't been going that straight. Only 46% of fairways for Cam, and greens have been low too, only 65%. He needs to get them up into the 75s. He's had some good live events, played good a couple of weeks ago in Dallas, tied 13th. He's been there and thereabouts, but, when you get to a major championships, it elevates. It's hard to explain, but when you're just playing a normal tour event, you're quite cool, calm and collected, but you go to a major, the heart beats a bit quicker. It's just tougher. But he knows what he's doing around here. He's a very creative person. His short game radar is one of the best I've ever seen in the world.
Always was. I don't really know what's going on with Cam at the moment there. I really don't. It was a very, financially, very sound thing he did. No one can begrudge him for going to live, but it doesn't look as though it's been very, very good for his golf. Well, let's face it. I mean, he's not the same golfer as he was on the PGA Tour. I think he left the PGA Tour and he was top 5 or 6 in the world after winning the Open, maybe 4. I don't know exactly, but I think he was 4 in the world. And, it hasn't been great for his golf. It's been good for the bank balance, but he's still a very, very young man. He left the PGA Tour at the dizzy heights of the game, and now he's at Live, and so far it hasn't worked out. As I say, yes, financially it has, but for his golf, he hasn't been contending in the big championships, and that's what they want to do. You don't want to rest on your laurels when you possess the talent that he does on one major.
Well, hopefully getting back to a links course is just the inspiration Cam needs ahead of Royal Portrush. His Ripper teammate, Mark Leishman, will be there also, back-to-back majors for Leish after he missed a couple of years in a row after going to the Live Tour. A winner on the Live circuit this year, coming off a performance at the US Open and Oakmont as well. He's on an upward trend, is Mark Leishman.
He certainly is. He is on an upward trend. He's lost in a playoff in the Open Championship before Louis Oosthuizen back in the day there at St Andrews. So he knows how to play golf on links golf courses. He grew up in Warrnambool. It blow a dog off a chain down there. I tell you something right now, even the birds walk in Warrnambool. The trees are sort of on an angle. That's how hard it blows down there. So when it starts to get windy, he comes into the fore. He knows how to flight it.
Well, we'll wait and see if Minjee Lee knows how to flight it. It's been an interesting year, I guess you could say, for Minjee Lee after winning at the Houston Open, which was a bit of a surprise because his form before that wasn't all that great. And it's been a real mixed bag ever since. What's going on with Minjee?
Yeah, I guess he's working on some stuff also with Richie Smith, but he's got to up the percentage of hitting fairways. We know he bombs it out there. He hits it a mile. He's only hit 54% of fairways, 64% of greens in regulation, and putting's just been okay. I'm hoping that a bit of similar rivalry comes into hand this week, that he can take it on, and his sister's won a major this year, that he feels like he's the underdog in the family at the moment. And the fact is he can play in the wind. Royal Fremantle, where he grew up and playing the game, you definitely have to flight the ball, a bit like Leish. You get so windy there that he can flight the ball. He's just got to be on song with that driver and the irons into the greens.
Let's keep rolling with the young Aussies and Cam Davis, whose best performance this year has been at Quail Hollow in the PGA Championship radar. Tied 19th there, made the cut at the US Open as well. But again, it's a very mixed bag for Cam Davis.
Yeah, it hasn't been a great year, has it? He's a very talented player as a former Australian Open champion, won the Australian Open at a very, very young age. Yeah, he grew up in Sydney, so we know, all of us know that how windy Sydney gets. So he knows how to contend in a breeze, but there's just no form. I can't go with it. I just can't do it. He needs a spark. Where is he going to find that spark? I don't know, but let's hope he finds it.
Let's hope indeed. Elvis Smiley played the Open Championship last year, got through final qualifying. This year, he won the Australasian Order of Merit, so he gets a place in the Open Championship. And he's been playing the European Tour.
Yeah, I think so. This year has been a learning curve for Elvis. He played in the Open Championships last year. He's had some good performances that are just solid, missed a few cuts on the DP World Tour. But he's got a 15th club in the bag. On the bag is Brad Beecher, who's a very, very experienced caddy who will help him map his way around Royal Port Wash. And he's coming off the BMW event where he had a 68 and a 66 in that and finished tied 38th. So there's real good signs for Elvis Smiley.
And from another Australian who's making his way in the world to Curtis Luck, who 10 years ago looked to be a surefire, can't-miss success, headed for the PGA Tour and potentially stardom radar, but it's funny how it works out, isn't it?
What, funny ha-ha or funny with a sigh, Warren?
Funny peculiar.
I just don't. Yes, but I don't really know where Curtis Luck went. I mean, he's had a great amateur career and won all sorts of great amateur events, started really well on the second tour over there in the States and the nationwide tour, and then all of a sudden just disappeared. And then he gets himself a start in the Open Championship through a wonderful Australian Open last year, which is great. So he's been looking forward to this for a long, long time. And he's an Aussie. He's another guy who knows how to play in the wind. So as a winner, I can't see it, but you just never know.
Got through from his performance in the Australian Open. Ryan Peake, the most unlikely story perhaps of anybody in the field this week at Royal Portrush, won the New Zealand Open from being incarcerated from his time as a bikie and committing a very serious crime to now being back in top-level golf, winning on the DP World Tour, and we'll tee it up at Royal Portrush.
Well, I think this is the best story in Australian golf for some time, and it wasn't given to him. He had to work really hard. Grew up alongside, the Cameron Smiths of the world, and went off the rails, but Richie Smith got him back on. He dedicated himself back to golf, and the way that he played down the stretch at the New Zealand Open, he deserved every bit of it. He stood up at the time that you had to hit a shot. He held that putt in the last. This will be his first Open Championships, but he'll have a practice round with Cam Smith and Minjee Lee and Elvis Smiley, and they'll teach him a lot. I'm actually expecting him. He's a very solid player and he can flight the ball. I'm actually expecting him to make the cut in his first Open Championships.
Now, Radar, one of the in-form Aussies in 2025 certainly has been Lucas Herbert, perhaps in our top two performers so far this season. He's qualified after winning the West Lancs qualifying section to get into the Open at Royal Portrush. Back on Links course, it's got to be a massive chance this week, I think.
No, I think that's a wonderful shout. Even though he won the Irish Open, which, we're looking at there, I mean, he didn't win that. He won that at Mount Juliet, which is a parkland course, a Jack Nicklaus parkland golf course. But this guy can seriously just play. He's just a fantastic... He plays in spurts. He's streaky. Now, you get streaky at the Open, it's just what you want. Not a lot of wind coming this week, so you just never know. But it wouldn't surprise me if he's up there contending going into the last round on Sunday, whether he can get over the line and wrap his mitts around that claret jug, as we've all wanted to do. I don't know, but yeah, he has the game for it. He's a serious talent.